So, are you drowning in a sea of messy, chaotic lecture notes? Because honestly, we have all been there. You sit through this fascinating, complex, hour-long presentation, right? And you're furiously scribbling down literally every single word the speaker says. But then you look back at your paper later that evening and it's just this passive, unorganized wall of text. Finding the actual main idea feels like looking for a needle in a haystack. And the mere thought of using those notes to study or write an essay, it's just incredibly overwhelming. Well, if your hand is tired and your brain is cluttered, you are in exactly the right place because there's a much better way to process all that information.
Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are going to completely transform the way you capture information. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're focusing entirely on Lesson 52, Taking Linear Notes. Our big goal today is to turn you from a passive transcriber into an incredibly efficient, highly organized information processor. By the end of this explainer, you're going to know exactly how to use layout, structure, and targeted shortcuts to create notes that actually work for you, rather than against you.
All right, here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, defining linear notes. Second, structuring for success. Third, the need for speed. And finally, reviewing the 3 C's. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. Defining linear notes. What are they?
So the absolutely crucial point here is verticality. Linear notes cascade down your page under clear headings using lines or lists. You're still just writing an ordinary text. No complicated mind maps or elaborate drawings required here, But you are using the actual formatting of that text, things like underlining and spacing, to explicitly show how the information is organized. They're absolutely brilliant for recording factual information in a very logical, top-down sequence.
Now you might be wondering, why should you even adopt this method? Well, the source material highlights some truly incredible benefits. Because they follow such a simple format, they're super easy to write down quickly. But actually, more than that, the very act of organizing information into lists helps focus your attention while you're listening. You aren't just passively hearing words, you're actively listening for the structure. Later on, that vertical format makes them wonderfully easy to refer back to. You can just scan right down the page. They act as a rapid memory trigger, meaning you aren't trying to decipher hieroglyphics at midnight right before an exam. And because the main ideas are already separated from the supporting details, it's incredibly easy to adapt them when you need to write a summary or an essay later.
Moving right along to Section 2, Structuring for Success, Visualizing the Impact.
Okay, take a look at this comparison. On the left, we have what so many of us default to, these dense, unorganized paragraphs. It's really tough to read, isn't it? But on the right, we have a clean, prioritized linear structure using bullet points. And this brilliantly illustrates a little anecdote from our source material about business writing. The text describes a CEO who's trying to explain a really complex situation to investors. The discussion points out that in formal business writing, utilizing bullet points makes your meaning crystal clear. I mean, it literally transforms a dense, intimidating block of text into something highly readable, where your priorities and conclusions stand out immediately. That's exactly the kind of power we want to bring to your notes.
So how do we actually build that structure? It's a super simple 3-step hierarchy. Step 1, you start with a heading. This is a noun phrase that gives you the overarching context. Step 2, right below that, you capture your main points. And then step 3, underneath each main point, you use bulleted lists for your supporting details, things like examples, definitions, or specific data. Essentially, you're creating a visual outline of the speaker's brain right there on your page.
Now, the real secret sauce here is knowing exactly when to create a new heading or drop down to a new bullet point. You do it by listening for what we call spoken punctuation, or signposting language. You see, effective speakers explicitly tell you how their information is structured. When you hear them say, "What I'd like to focus on first of all is," boom, that's your cue to write a new main heading. When they say, "Okay, moving on to," you jump down and start a new section. These filler phrases carry practically zero actual content, but they are incredibly valuable because they buy you precious time to structure your page and get ready for the core facts that are about to drop.
That brings us to Section 3, the need for speed. Nouns, verbs, and abbreviations.
Okay, here is your absolute golden rule of thumb for linear notes. Write mostly noun phrases and verbs. You have got to train yourself to ruthlessly leave out grammar words. I'm talking about determiners like a and the, and auxiliary verbs like is and are. Sure, these words are essential for speaking properly, but honestly, they're completely unnecessary for capturing factual memory triggers on a page. By just dropping them, you instantly speed up your writing. It's a real game changer.
And alongside dropping words, you need to shrink the ones you do write. As you can see, full academic phrases can translate directly into lightning-fast abbreviations and symbols. Instead of writing out the whole phrase, led to or results in, just draw a simple arrow. For example, simply becomes e.g. The same as is literally just an equal sign. The source material really emphasizes that building your own personalized toolkit of symbols is a vital note-taking strategy. Every single letter you don't write is precious time saved, allowing you to just keep listening. Let's look at a highly concrete example straight from the source text to see this all in action. Imagine the speaker says, "The talk on life in the UK at 3 p.m. will be in room 7A, not 8A as advertised." Okay, that is 20 words. Now look at the linear note translation on the bottom. Talk, life in the UK at 3 p.m., room 7A, not 8A. See what we did there? We've stripped out the, on, at, will be in, and we threw in the at symbol. We've preserved 100% of the factual meaning, but we've captured it in a fraction of the time, organized really cleanly on just one line. It is incredibly efficient.
All right, on to our final section. Section 4, reviewing the 3 C's, evaluating your notes.
The source material provides us with this fantastic, really actionable quote. When making notes from a lecture, try to focus on the 3 C's: clarity, comprehensibility, and completeness. This right here is your definitive rubric. You see, whenever you finish taking linear notes, you really shouldn't just close your notebook and call it a day. You need to review what you've written through the lens of these 3 specific qualities.
So let's break down exactly what that checklist looks like so you know what you're actually evaluating. First up, clarity. Look at your page. Are your headings, your main points, and your bulleted details visually distinct? Like, did you actually maintain that vertical linear structure, or did you kind of panic and revert back to writing dense paragraphs? Be honest. Second, comprehensibility. Read through your shorthand. Can you actually understand the abbreviations and symbols you used, or are they going to look like total alien hieroglyphics to you tomorrow morning? Fix them while the lecture is still fresh in your mind. And third, completeness. Think back to the speaker's signposting. Did you capture a section for every single main point they promised in their introduction? If you spot any gaps, well, now's the time to fill them in.
So, we've defined the vertical layout. We've explored how headings and bullet points transform messy text into crystal clear meaning. We've learned how to strip out all those extra words to write at literal lightning speed, and we have a concrete rubric for reviewing our work. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this final, thought-provoking question. How will you apply this linear structure to your very next meeting or lecture? Don't just file this away. The next time you sit down to listen to complex information, commit to the headings, commit to the bullet points, and experience firsthand just how powerful active, structured note-taking can truly be. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy note-taking.